Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the weekend wrap up here, October 5th, 2024. I'm David Thomas. With me is Mr. Josh Blevins. We're here to talk about the news that matters here in Shelbyville and Bedford County. Before we get into it, Josh, I'd like to pause and thank our sponsor, Dennis Young Insurance here in Shelbyville. Let's pause now and have a word from him, and you can dive in as soon as we get right back.
Absolutely.
With the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
Welcome back to the weekend wrap up here on Shelbyville Now. Mr. Josh, you've got quite a bit of stuff that you've checked out this week and got a lot to report. Why don't you give us some really good and important information? I know right out of the gate here.
Yeah, right out of the gate. Yeah,
right, real close to.
Yeah. Just starting off, unusual week. Not a normal week. What I do normally, I go to a couple government meetings and go out and have some breakfast and do some stuff. But things were a little different this week. Something we didn't even talk about last week. It was just kind of breaking at the time. Right. It was out of the county. We didn't really have anything to say about it. But there was a big hurricane. Came up from the Gulf and did significant damage all the way into Tennessee, which is very unusual. When you think hurricanes, you think Florida, Gulf Coast, and maybe Georgia, Louisiana. But we've got people in our own state that are in serious need of help right now. And I mean, if you watch any news at all, on the national level, you've seen it, right out of the gate. And so starting maybe Tuesday, I think it was, I started looking online for what was going on here locally, where we could tie in locally, maybe to some kind of organization or some kind of event. And we just started by reposting a couple things. I saw that community school, their Future Farmers of America, they were gathering some stuff. And there was a supply drive here and a supply drive there. But then I noticed there was a group of local people, mainly in the horse industry, that were kind of trying to team together, and they were going to run a couple horse trailers with supplies out to East Tennessee. So we just started reposting some of what they're doing just to get the information out there. And I just want to clarify, because a lot of people have reached out to me this week, and I want to clarify that this was not this was not Shelbyville Now operation. This was not me. This was not you. These were people in the community, and all we were doing was trying to get their information out there. Some people reached out to me thinking that we were the organizers or something, that we were, and we don't want to take any credit for this, although this was a great event, and I wish we could. But, all we were doing was mainly the social media side of things. And they started off with 2 collection points at the Christian bookstore on Main Street, and then Edgemont Baptist Church. And they were going to collect for 2 days. And they had, at the beginning, they started talking about just 2 horse trailers. And then it was going to be, we're just going to send 5 horse trailers full of supplies. And by the time it was all said and done, they had collected 8 full horse trailers here in Shelbyville. An additional 2 from Lewisburg, and they left out Friday morning. One group left about 6 in the morning, one about 8 in the morning, headed for East Tennessee, Greene County in particular, to deliver all these supplies that were, that are really needed out there. So I just wanted to really quickly, because there's so many people involved in this, there's no way we could mention even a fraction of them. But I just want to point out the group from Bedford County. These are the people that actually took the caravan, and I may even miss a name here. This I gathered from a couple posts. But the main 2 people that have been organizing this, in front of and behind the scenes, were Amy Campbell and Julie Graham. And then on that caravan was Clay Sanderson, Dickie Gardner, Dan Waddell, Robert Nelms, Amanda Nelms, Tanner Burks, Whitley Burks, Ronnie Reed, Eddie Johnson, Jeff Green, Brad Beard, Frankie Rourke, Jada Calloway, and then the 2 gentlemen from Lewisburg who we didn't get their names. So that's a lot of local people that took a whole day off Friday and drove out to East Tennessee to deliver these supplies, on top of which I know for a fact I was out there both days, Wednesday and Thursday, and Amy Campbell was there all day long, both days, on the scene at the church. I know Julie was out at the Christian bookstore all day, and just so many people came in giving stuff. Just one anecdote: we were there Thursday night late. We were stopping collections at 7 o'clock. This was 8:30 at night. It's pitch black out. Hispanic couple walk up across the parking lot, barely speak English, asked what we were doing, and one of the volunteers explained we're collecting, supplies and money for East Tennessee. The gentleman pulled his wallet out, took all the cash out of his wallet, and handed it to the lady there. And there's so many stories like that,
Wow.
of stuff that went on. People, truckloads of feed, of bottled water, of, just so much stuff. And just a great, coming together of the people from the county, and the city and, all over the area.
All right.
People sending them cash from Venmo. They ended up with just at Sam's Club. They made a Sam's Club run Thursday evening. They had $8,000 in donations they were able to use at Sam's Club to
Wow.
buy supplies to help load into these trailers to take out there. And it was, just a really great event. And then as they're driving back yesterday in the afternoon, I get a call and they're like, "Hey, you want to do it again?" So we've got what we've got going on currently. Mr. Lane Leverett, who lives at 1976 Fairfield Pike. He's got a farm up there.
Right.
He has he was actually there Thursday evening. He helped us out. I'll give up one more little story here in a second at how he was able to help us out Thursday night. But he was already planning on going out to East Tennessee this Tuesday. He's going to stay there for a week and help cook hot meals for people that don't have power and
Right.
utilities and whatnot. He's managed to get an entire semi-truck donated as far as the transportation. They're going to leave a trailer at his farm. We're going to load it up with as much as we can get on one semi-truck. And they're going to drive it out to Hampton, Tennessee. That's in Carter County. That's at where Virginia, North Carolina, and Tennessee meet. I actually took a few minutes this morning and watched last night's EMA briefing out of Carter County. And as of last night, they still had their two major utilities in the county. One had 1,800 customers without power. One had 8,500 customers without power. And that's not people. 8,500,
Right.
that's households. So
Right.
you multiply
That's
that
a
times
lot.
how many people. That's a lot of people that have not had
That's
utilities.
basically everybody up there.
It's a big
County.
chunk. That county, I looked, that county's about the same size as Bedford, a little
Yeah.
over 50,000 people. So a big chunk of that county has not had utilities for over a week.
Yeah.
So Lane is going to go up with a group of guys. So we need a couple things. There's a supply list on our Facebook page as far as actual supplies. If you can't do supplies, there's a Venmo. You could send cash, and they'll go to Sam's Club just like we did this time and buy the supplies. He also could use more hands. He's got a group of guys with him. Actually, I think it's his. He said it's his coon hunting buddies.
All right.
They're going with him, and they're going to go for the week, and they're going to help him cook the food. But if you were wanting to volunteer for a couple days while he's in town, get with him, and he can help hook you into a time that you can come out there and volunteer.
Right. And when are they pulling out?
They're pulling out Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So Monday is when they're actually going to load the trailer, but starting as early. I'm going to go over there right after lunch. They have got a lunch appointment and see how things are going. But they're going to start accepting. There's probably people already there giving donations because we
Yeah.
started posting last night. But they're going to pull out Tuesday. They're going to spend about a week in Carter County. They're going to cook for as many people as they can in that amount of time, and they'll. Any donations, they've got this was a lot of the questions we got were, hey, you've seen the national news. Oh, FEMA's confiscating supplies. Oh, the state's doing this. And there may be some of that. It's hard to tell, online rumor versus fact a lot of time.
Yeah.
But in both cases, the group that went out on Friday, they already had contact people on the ground. They're not just driving supplies out there.
Dumping
Just,
them out.
just hoping they can find a spot.
You're getting an actual receptive
These
group
are-
of people.
Yeah, these are people from here. The lady that accepted the supplies and was organizing things in Greene County, she actually has some horses that she puts in the celebration here every year.
Okay.
So there's personal
Personal
contacts.
connection,
Yeah, and it's the same thing, I'm sure, with where Lane's going out in Hampton, Tennessee. He's got some personal
Yeah.
contacts. It's a rescue group. They've got ATVs and side-by-sides. They're going to drive up into those mountains and get to people that you can't get to on
Yeah.
roads that are washed away.
I'd like
So-
to say something right here,
Yeah.
Josh. The Tennessee walking horse industry, I've been a part of my entire life. That's
Yeah.
been our business and our livelihood. And over the years, I've seen stuff like this happen. And they're a fine bunch of people when it comes to crisis and gathering and organizing and doing stuff like this.
Right.
And they get such a negative shadow cast over them because of the problems with the USDA. And they get so much negative publicity. But they continue um, charity that they serve constantly. Their horse shows go to charities for most in most
Right.
cases. All right, and then they do acts like this. They're a great bunch of folks, and they have a negative shadow cast on them. I just want to tip my hat to all those folks that have stepped up to do this, because if it happens again, they'll be there again.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it's a bright spot for Bedford County, and I know most every one of these people. They're fine folks, and
Yeah.
they're doing it from a good place too. It's
Yeah.
just like they want to take care of other human beings.
Right. It's just people helping people because, not to get on the political side of it, but, we don't need to be waiting on the government to come
No.
help us. Let's just get out there and help
Right.
our people. We got people that could do that, and we appreciate them. Just that one quick story, because I said I would mention it. We obviously post all the good things online that go on, but let me just tell you a little anecdote. Thursday night, we got to the end. The collection stopped at 7 o'clock. It was 8 o'clock. I walk up to the side of the biggest horse trailer that had been loaded, and we went to close the door. Wouldn't close.
Uh-oh.
So we call over the guy that had borrowed the trailer, and he looks at it. And he's like, "That doesn't seem right." So he calls the guy that owns the trailer. Who's Dan was his name. He's like, "Dan, this door's not closing. Something's not right." He said, "Where's it sticking at?" He told him. He said that usually happens when I overload it with too much. So
Oh,
we
wow.
step back and we look at the horse trailer, and the horse trailer is bowing in the middle.
Yeah.
So they had loaded so much feed on
Right.
there. These were 50-pound bags of feed, and
Wow.
they were stacked from the floor to the ceiling. Thousands of pounds. There's no telling what it was.
Yeah, the frame of that trailer was bent.
It was
So-
bent. It was bent in the middle. So they and this is again, how all the connections, all the people in to help out. They made some phone calls. We got 2 more trailers there at 8 o'clock on a Thursday night, pitch black in Edgemont Church parking lot.
Well,
And we offloaded probably about half of what was on that trailer, split it between the other 2, and about 10:30 he was able to pull away, and that trailer was fine once it didn't have all the weight over the middle of it. And then that was actually one of the 10 that they drove out there Friday.
Wow.
So, and I also heard they had a couple blown tires on the way out. So there's
Oh, man.
there's always
Yeah.
trials and stuff, but everybody stepped up. They got the work done. And I feel like they're going to do it again with this semi truck. So anybody out there, if you can, one more, so many side notes, but we get a lot of questions about clothes, and they are accepting clothes. Let me just say something. This is just me personally, having been through. I was there during the 2010 Nashville flood, and was there, for months of that, because we lived right in it. And if that's all you've got to give, and I understand you want to donate, go ahead and donate the clothes. But realize, and I watched this briefing again in Carter County, their main supply points there in Carter County, they've already stopped accepting clothes. And the reason they say, and this is what happens in these, is when you've been in a disaster like this and you're trying to get help, that's probably the last thing you're looking for. They said when people come in, needing something
Right.
from them, they're needing bottled water, they're needing batteries, they're needing supplies. Eventually they will need clothes, but at this point they're just trying to survive. They need
Right.
food and, sustenance to get through the day.
right.
So clothes are a little further down. Then we even had some people that offered furniture, and that's even way further down. I mean, if your house is destroyed,
You don't
you're
have a house,
you're not
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about furniture. So they are accepting clothes. Let me just say that. But just be, understand that that's probably
Right.
a little further down the road that they'll need that. Really, the bottled water and the food are the 2
Yeah.
big things. And then there's baby supplies and stuff they're collecting as well. Those are more immediate needs that they're really needing right now.
Right.
So that's really all we've got to say about that, I think, at this point. But keep an eye on our Facebook. We'll keep posting updates. If they currently, for this trip that's happening on Tuesday, there's not a collection center within the city limits. We realize that, and we may reconsider that depending on
Right.
how things go out at the farm. If that ends up being a problem, people going. And let me just point out where that's at. So that 1976 Fairfield Pike, if you just get off the 437 bypass off 231 on the north side of town, you take a left at that brand new red light that came up there. It's just like half a mile up on the right.
Right.
It's not that far out of town. Really, honestly, it's probably just a few parcels outside the city.
Yeah.
But we realize that's not as convenient as when we're on Main Street and
Right.
down at the church. So keep an eye out. If something else opens up as a place for a drop off, we'll put that on our Facebook immediately.
Okay.
So,
All right.
then on to there was only one meeting this week as far as the government meeting. First week of the month is usually a little light anyway. So on Tuesday, I was at the city study session. Man, it was a long meeting. I don't even know how long it went. It feels like it went, I think it may have gone 2 hours. So it was a long meeting.
Well,
A lot of discussion, a lot of things going on in the city. First thing brought up, city manager. Actually, he had a little interesting story. He has been in some meetings with our county mayor, actually, our city manager, our county mayor. There's been a lot of friction there. We've been talking about that for forever. But they have actually been meeting behind the scenes, and they're working together on this big Christmas event coming up December 3rd. So at the Thursday city council meeting that's coming up, they're going to vote on whether to match the county sponsorship of this Christmas event, which the county's putting in $10,000. So the city's now going to consider putting in $10,000. I would imagine they would. It would come out of hotel, motel. It would just be a good thing around Christmas time to actually have the city and the county working together
it would
fight
be
with
nice.
each other.
Yeah,
So
that would be a good thing.
that would be good. He also mentioned they're going to bring up something Thursday, Deary Street. They've got some grants and stuff working on getting finally sidewalks on Deary Street, because I know Deary Street's terrible as far as getting up and down because there's no sidewalks.
Yeah.
So they're needing to spend some city money on engineering before they can get to the grant part of that. There'll be some dollar amounts discussed and maybe even something voted on this Thursday. So we'll be able to look out for that. One of the big two, there were actually two big presentations at the beginning, which is what made this a 2-hour meeting. One of them was on the flock cameras, which we've talked about.
Right.
These are the license plate readers. As expected, the trial is over and they'd like to keep them. So that's going to cost us some money. They did a presentation, showed a map. They would like to put 12 of these, which would cover the major state highway entrances and exits out of the city. It would cost $36,000 a year. So,
Okay, so this would not be a purchase. This is a lease. Is that what this is?
yeah, you pay them. These cameras, the way they work, you pay $3,000 per year per camera, and that's because it's more service than hardware. This kind of thing is more about the back end.
Okay.
You know,
So
the
it's
scanning
the
of-
software.
It's more of a software thing than hardware. And for that, though, the hardware is installed, and I'm sure they maintain it. If there's a newer version come out, they swap it, kind of thing.
Okay.
So that is the cost. We knew it was coming up. It'll be interesting to see what the council does, because this was not in. We just passed the budget a few months ago. This was not in the budget. So now they've got to decide if they think it's worth it to spend the 36, which seems like A, that's not a huge amount of money in our budget, and B, it seems like a good. They had a lot of good
bang
things
for
to
the
say
buck.
about what they were getting as far as results. So we'll see what the council thinks. Now, on the other side of the camera debate, they brought a gentleman in to pitch new cameras for the city council meetings. He says he's the one that put in the county system. So he's wanting to put something in the city, and this is the deal where instead of currently we just have the big wide shot of the council chambers, and that's the whole meeting. This is where the cameras like zoom in and you see who's talking. So basically,
Does the county have that?
they do. Yeah, if you watch County Commission,
I watch it.
it zooms in on the county commission members when they speak. So it does.
I
yeah.
noticed that.
Well, we've had 8-minute meetings recently. Wait till we get one that goes a little longer and you'll notice. So yeah, they do.
Okay.
And I've seen it work. But $91,260.34 was his
And
price.
the price of video cameras have come down tremendously
Yeah,
in the past few years because there's so many companies doing the live stream product suites and all. 91,000 is a little steep, Josh.
this is. I'm guessing it's the Cadillac or Rolls Royce of this type of system. Now it did include. Not 91,000. I still don't get there for this, but it did include each of the stations where the council members are at. There's a video monitor, so they can see.
What everybody else is saying?
No, they're not seeing the video. They're seeing what
Oh, the
they're seeing.
slideshows.
What the slideshows
I got you.
which honestly they're already seeing. There's a big old
Big old
honking
screen.
TV on
Yeah.
the wall. So,
Okay.
so instead of that big TV on the wall looking across the room, they would look at a little monitor in front of them. And there's some possibility for electronic voting on that. But again, there's only 6 council members. I understand they've debated that off and on at the county commission where you've got 18 people voting every time. But where you only got 6, I mean, how hard is it to go around the room and say, yes or no?
Yeah.
For $91,000, you can probably say yes or no a lot of times. So,
Oh, man, I
just-
tell you.
general feeling that one's probably not going to get passed, but it was presented and they may discuss it some more at the next one. We'll see what happens. So Interesting note that came up at this meeting that I had not heard before. The soccer grant, which we've heard a lot about,
Right.
$2.5 million from the state. We've got to match it with $2.5 million. Something kind of slipped out that I hear was not supposed to have come out this early in the process, but it was mentioned publicly, so we'll talk about it. They are attempting to have part of the city's match be not actual dollars put into this, but they're going to try the land that the soccer park would go on is currently empty land. So they got a professional appraisal of that land, which came in at $1.73 million is the value of the land. And they're going to say that since they are giving that land to
That's
this
part-
project, that would be
part
part
of
of
the
their
match.
match, leaving them just $770,000
Only
short.
750.
Well, 770 is a lot better than 2.5 million.
Well, quite a bit.
Yeah, quite a bit better. So, they say they think the state will be on board with this. So I would have expected on a match. I mean, and I don't know a lot about matches. I would have expected they expect you to put dollars in, but they're saying the appraisal counts. So at 770, if they could get a couple corporate sponsors and get some buy-in from the county, now that there's a little more discussion happening between the city and the county, I mean, suddenly I think it's within reach.
Has there been a study done yet, Josh, that shows the return on investment on this?
Nothing official. There's all this anecdotal evidence of if you go to towns that have these big soccer parks, I mean, you have the big tournaments, you get a lot of people in town, which then gets you sales tax revenue. And if it goes over a weekend, you get hotel motel tax because they stay, hopefully in your hotels and motels or Airbnbs or whatever you have, since we don't have a whole lot of hotel motel capacity.
My thought is
Yeah,
a place like Murfreesboro that has all those things
right.
benefits more than a city like Shelbyville because of, well, naturally you've got more motels, you've got more restaurants, you have more access to a lot of different things. I just wonder if you start comparing that, how does that play out in Shelbyville, Tennessee?
Well, as we'll discuss here in a few minutes on business updates, we got more restaurants and hotels coming. So maybe we're about to hit that point where we've got enough going on that somebody would want to host a soccer tournament here.
Maybe so.
Which that remains to be seen, but it's a possibility. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. I would expect more discussion on that at Thursday. They're on a bit of a deadline, and they have still not even, because I asked this question again. There was supposed to have been an official letter, sent from the city to the county, all the way across the street
Right.
to the building
Right,
across the street. Still has, as of the study session, that letter has not been sent. So hopefully that'll happen soon.
Hey, let's take time. Hey, county, city needs money,
Yeah,
wants money. Give
yeah.
them a call.
I'll save them a stamp. I'm more than happy to personally hand deliver the letter
Yes,
across
okay.
the street to the other building if they want to save the cost. Which stamps are going up. Stamps are starting to get
Yeah,
expensive.
they
So
are.
if they'd like to save a stamp, I'll even do certified mail. I'll have them sign a sheet of paper if
Okay.
they want. So they'll save a few dollars. Also on the agenda Tuesday, just a couple small things. They're wanting to add a line item and use some of the hotel motel money for what they're going to call seasonal events, which they said involves like this Christmas thing coming up. They want to spend some money on decorations. When the Christmas parade happens, they want to have candy to throw out to the kids and stuff like that. So they've got money sitting in this hotel motel. They figured this would be a good use of it. Two other things that came up, which the city has stopped kind of giving donations.
Right.
They pretty much cut out the nonprofits. But they're going to consider at this week's meeting, somebody sent them a letter asking them to sponsor the annual Boys and Girls Club meal, which a table is $2,000. They're going to decide if they're going to do that. And then the Bedford County Fair, which obviously is a big thing, that somebody found out that I guess the city's not been, putting any money into the Bedford County Fair, and they're asking them to put $2,000 into that, I guess, for next year. So that's they'll talk about both
All right,
of those.
just something to think about, Josh.
Yeah.
Great organizations.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got the fair. I mean,
Boys and Girls Club. You
Boys
can't
and
get
Girls-
any better than
yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
there's a lot of others,
Right.
and we scaled it back because we're using taxpayer money.
That was the debate.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So if you start this back, does this just take you right back down the same path you came from?
And that will, I bet, be the discussion on Thursday. Yeah, because that's what they decided. Because there's so many good things you could donate to.
Yes.
They decided, do you want to be the one that has to make the decision of which 10 things we can afford, or did you just want to cut off? And at that point, the council in place, which I don't even know the exact current council members we have, they decided the easier I don't know that it's the easier method, but maybe the fairer method was to just not do any nonprofit donations. That way you're not picking and choosing and saying,
and encourage your citizens
to give privately to the nonprofits. So so I bet that'll be discussed on Thursday. We'll see. And then one other, there was a lot of dollar amount notes, and a lot of it taxpayer dollars, of course. The River Overlook, which is mainly supposed to be funded, mainly is funded by grant money. They ran into a little, I call it a hitch, I guess, because of where it is on the river. There had to be some kind of a FEMA study as far as,
of course,
what it does with, I don't know, something to do with the river and water and flooding and whatnot. But the grant won't pay for that. The grant only pays for the construction costs.
Of course.
So we're looking at between $13,900, could go as high as $38,200 to do this FEMA study to decide if we're allowed to put in our own river overlook over the river. So they'll get to vote on that on Thursday. So. So that's just a small part of what was I've got here my 3-page agenda that we had there, and on the first 11 items, like 7 or 8 of them were dollar amounts they need of taxpayer money, and that's just kind of how it goes, I guess. So decisions will have to be made on Thursday. I would imagine not all of those will be funded. I'd say we could go ahead and make an early prediction that the $91,000 camera system is a definite no.
All this money, you look at each one of them, you can make an argument for it.
Oh, sure, individually.
But then when you hear people out in town, taxpayers, worried about potholes in roads, worried about street lights in the middle of sidewalks, so much infrastructure stuff that needs to be done. I mean, I don't see how you go down the path of bells and whistles when you got to get the basics covered first.
Right.
I mean, that's the decision that the council has to end up making here.
That's what they got to make. Yeah.
You got to look in the river, but you don't have roads to take you to the overlook. You've got a little problem.
Right. Yeah.
So it's going to be a balancing act for our council.
It is. And a couple of these are kind of funded differently, as in like the Christmas program, that'll come out of hotel, motel. So you never could have used that money for the potholes anyway. So you just got to decide the best.
What can you use that money for?
It's got to be economic development or tourism related.
Can you not make an argument that roads over economic development?
You could make the argument, but I don't think the state accepts it. That's a strong argument, though. I mean, you can't have tourists if you can't get down the road.
Exactly.
So, but
and you got to have water. I mean, that's really good stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, that's a utility issue. I'm not going down this path. I'm sorry, Josh.
No, that's okay.
Here.
I understand.
I'll stop.
That was our only meeting of the week. I mean, county didn't have any meetings. They don't the first week of the month, usually the way it falls on the calendar. But just a couple updates I wanted to give. We had talked a few weeks ago. We had some questions and updates. Here's a few more things going on in the city business-wise. Just want to point out, I went and spoke with the owners, and we did a post. We got a new drive-through liquor store.
Nice job, Josh. I
Yes.
saw that, and I got a good tour of the place.
Oh, did you go over there and see
No.
the place? Oh,
Your-
for the pictures.
your video.
I went
Your-
over to
your-
some
your
place.
picture.
Yes. Great owners, nice family out of Murfreesboro. They're currently commuting. Eventually hope to relocate into Shelbyville. And as even they expected while I was there, they're like, we're going to get so many negative comments. I said, I know. I'm sorry. I said, I don't know what to tell you. I know not everybody wants another liquor store in town, but these are private individuals
Yes.
spending their own money, hard-earned money that I'm sure
Yes.
they worked years and years to save up to open a business, to try to, to make a living here in Shelbyville. And I realize not everybody is going to go to a liquor store, much like everybody hates it when a vape shop opens.
But you
and
know
a Mexican
what?
restaurant.
These people invested their money
They
to
did.
do this, and they've probably done some research to
Yeah.
look at where a need is.
Yeah.
And they see as that side of town
Yeah.
needs that particular product.
Right. And all these people that are like, oh, why does Shelbyville bring this in? The government had nothing to do other than they had to prove their
Right.
license, but they didn't go out and drive through the city of Murfreesboro and say, "Hey, does anybody here want to open a liquor store in Shelbyville?" That is
No.
not what happened. These
No.
are private people making a private business.
It's not
decision.
our county commission's fault.
Yeah.
It's not our county mayor's fault. It's not our city mayor's fault, our city manager's fault. It's not our city council's fault. It's
Right.
nobody in government's fault
No.
if you don't like this.
Yeah.
It's the fact that some people felt like that there was a need, and that's a business for them.
That's a business decision, and again, great family. The Patel family. It's a husband, wife. It was the whole family. They had siblings there. The dad was there hanging signs while I was there. I mean, it's a whole family operation. They're just trying to make a living.
Right?
I even saw, and I hate to get too political, but I saw a comment that was like, "Oh, it's people that bring a business in town. They're not even going to pay taxes."
Yeah, they are.
They're going to pay taxes. They're going to pay a lot of taxes.
Oh, exactly.
Just because
the liquor tax alone is
their
still-
name isn't Smith or Jones or whatever in this
Right.
Patel family. They're not here avoiding taxes. This is a legitimate family with
Yes.
a legitimate business. They're going to pay probably more taxes than a lot of the small. I think liquor taxes are probably
Yes.
pretty high. So,
A lot of
yeah.
assumptions are made just on fiction
Yeah,
in a lot of cases, or
Yeah.
just hearsay.
yeah,
And until you get down and look at it like you've done,
yeah.
and you know exactly what's taking place, just
Yeah.
don't say anything about it. I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't know what you're talking about, just
Well,
zip it. You know.
It's the internet. Everybody says,
But you know what? Facebook, and specifically Facebook, social media, opens up
It
the
opens up
opportunity for this type of
whatever.
stuff. And that's
Yeah.
what
That's
the
what
lady
happens.
was concerned about there.
Yeah.
And I get it because
Yeah, they knew ahead of time, and
Yeah.
they knew what to expect, and they got what they expected in the comments section.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, couple other business updates. Just want to mention. Everybody has seen by now, I'm sure. There's pictures of the banner that's up and work happening. Seven Brew looks like it's moving fast, and that's a small business, so we should have a coffee shop there across from Walmart. I would
Yeah.
expect in a fairly quick amount of time. Dutch Brothers, which there has been no movement on the property yet. I did hear from planning this week there has finally been some applications as far as some permits and stuff. They ran into a little hiccup. They were, I don't know, there's a building that needs to be demolished, an old house and stuff.
Right.
Some of these bigger corporations, when it gets into a lot of paperwork and stuff like that, they said it just, they don't move.
slows
very fast.
everything down. Yeah.
So, but there's progress happening. And on a bigger note, the city has received permits for at least grading so far on Hampton Inn. So that's one that
So
was
that's their
announced-
first step.
Well, they did one little step, which was they combined the two
Right,
parcels a few
right.
months
So
ago.
now
But as
they're
far as
Trying
there
to work
may be
on
actual dirt work happening at some
drainage
point. Yeah.
issues being fixed.
Yeah,
probably.
so a lot of people would wonder about that. That's
Yeah,
been a
I've been
full
wondering
year
what-
since
yeah.
it was announced, and there is actual movement on the Hampton Inn. So, now the biggest elephant in the county, in the room, in the city, as it were, that everybody asks about all the time, Duxon. They are currently using the office space. The city went ahead and granted them just what's called a partial certificate of occupancy, and they are allowed to use the office space portion only. There are no chemicals
No acid.
going in and out. There's no acid in the acid factory. They are still the whole state process. There's still some things to be done before that state review can be completed that the city requested. So as far as the chemical portion, it's not gone anywhere yet. But the offices, if you were to see somebody pulling in and out of the property and say, "Oh no, they're in there mixing chemicals," they're not. They're using the office space.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on there. Other than that, not to give too much of information early, but just a little teaser. I believe we're going to have another business announcement on Monday. So be on the lookout on the Facebook
All right.
for a possible business announcement
Yeah,
Monday.
it might be exciting.
It
for some
might be
folks.
exciting. And other than that, that's going to cover the week that just was. I think we're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk about the week that's coming up.
All right.
with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
Again, thank you, Dennis Young Insurance, for sponsoring the weekend wrap-up show here on Shelbyville Now. for all your insurance needs. If you, as you just heard, check out Dennis Young Insurance out on Madison Street. All right, Josh, upcoming week.
Upcoming week, lot more on the schedule, anyways, this week than on the week that just passed. Let's start with today, the day we're currently in, Saturday, up in Wartrace. They're having their Harvest Days, which I hear is a big event. Started this morning, I believe, at 8 o'clock, and go until 4 o'clock up in Wartrace. I'm sure there's booze. I'm sure there's food. There's probably music.
Booze. Did you say booze?
Booze. Booths.
Oh, I thought you said booze.
No booze. There may be booze. I don't know. Maybe they have booze. But there's a lot going on there, I hear. And then also, if you go the totally opposite direction, Hall's Mill has their sorghum squeeze this weekend.
You ever been to a sorghum squeeze?
I've not been to a sorghum squeeze. I've seen pictures every year, and I keep saying I'm going to get up there one time. Just give me some sorghum, but I have not yet. But they're there till 2:30 today. Hall's Mill, where they have this, is very rural.
Yes.
Bring cash. They don't take cards. They don't take Bitcoin.
My kind of place.
This is your kind of people. Cash
kind of
only.
place. Cash and coins.
And bring your own chair, because they don't have chairs either. You
Okay.
can bring a chair,
All right.
bring some
Are you
cash.
trying to associate? Never mind.
No, not at all. And actually, just driving in, getting my Southern Cup this morning, I noticed, and I had seen some posts online too. Heritage Bank, I think it is, across from
Yes.
Southern Cup, having a big craft fair there today. Right. I do not know the ending time, but they're there right now. It's full parking lot. I imagine they're going to at least mid-afternoon. So if you're on North Main Street, stop by and buy some crafts. Monday. Big day if you're concerned about the November election, voter registration deadline. If you have recently moved into Bedford County and you did not adjust your voter registration before now, if you don't do it by Monday, you ain't voting. So
Okay, Josh.
get ready by Monday.
Let's stop just for a second.
Yep.
If I just moved here,
Yep.
what do I need to have in my possession when I go to register to vote? So I've never registered. This will be my first time. What do I need to take with me, Josh? Do you know?
I do not know. This is a pop quiz that I was unprepared
I know.
for. I would expect
What would you expect?
photo ID with your current address, which would mean you would have had to have updated your driver's license, I hope. But I wonder if you could have a driver's license from an old address and just provide some utility bills, but I do not know.
What about a birth certificate?
I would not expect them to ask for a birth certificate, no. Just because of what I know. But, yeah.
Okay. All right. So you can walk up there with a driver's license
I believe driver's license.
and then another form of ID, and you're going to register to vote. Is that what you're saying? You think?
I think if your driver's license had the current Bedford County address, I think that was all they would
That's
ask
all.
for. Yeah,
So
I think that would be it.
Just
So,
a
yes.
driver's license.
I'm fairly certain, yes. I'm not 100%. I would talk to the election commission to be sure,
Okay.
but that would be my guess. Yes.
All right. So that's
Yes.
it. That's all it takes.
That's all it takes, and I kind of understand where you're going. And I'll throw out there that that my wife, who is not a U.S. citizen but is here legally, very clearly want to say
Right.
legally,
Right.
she does have all that she would need to technically register to vote, even though she's not allowed to vote. Yeah, she's a Canadian citizen, but she has the amount of ID required by our current voter registration system to vote. The other side of the argument coming from the state is that they check that list and purge it after the fact, and that's all I know about that.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well,
that's our
there's
system
been
as
a
it
lot
is.
of questions coming
Oh,
up
yeah.
about that.
Yeah,
A lot of debate
a lot of questions
about
a lot
what's
of debate.
required, what's
Yeah.
legal, what's not.
Right.
And it seems like state to state, and even county to county within the state of Tennessee does it different.
Oh, and I'm sure you heard about the hoopla in California, where it is now illegal to ask for ID when you vote.
That's pathetic.
That's
Well, that's a
so
foreign
we-
country.
I know it's a whole
They're
other.
counting in our election, but it's a foreign
It's
country.
a whole other country. But just I'm just saying it could always be worse. If it was illegal to even ask for the driver's license, it could be worse. So,
Okay.
which is not to say that we're not.
I
headed
want to
that
do a
direction.
special show about this one day, but
Yeah.
not today.
Not
Go
today.
ahead.
Today's not. We were not going to get into how you register to vote.
Go ahead.
Tuesday evening, 7 o'clock, is our monthly county commission meeting. Very sparse agenda, as has been the case for about the past 3 months. One business item, which is a budget amendment, which happened at the past the finance meeting a couple weeks ago that I went to. It's just $10,000 to spruce up the records building there where you're coming into the square. $10,000 for this big Christmas event, and then there was a smaller amount, maybe 35, or maybe even less, that was just going to one of the tourism agencies that we're a member of.
All right. Got another question for you, Joe.
But okay,
These 8-minute meetings.
yes.
Does that mean that really nothing's going on in the county right now?
I would hope there's stuff going on in the departments, but I guess nothing that needs to be voted on.
Nothing needs to be talked about. No discussion.
Well, now
that goes into your study sessions.
let's
I
get
guess.
into the second part of this
Okay.
meeting. So that is my other question. So we have quarterly reports that come. We
Yes.
have 10 major departments that are supposed to submit a quarterly report to our county government. And on my fingers, I count, if you got quarterly reports, that would be 4 times a year by my math.
Okay, so
So-
you got several different. You got
It's
all
a
these
list.
different
Yeah,
departments.
I don't have the list,
Okay.
but we'll say there's 10 of them, which there's 10 of them. They're supposed to appear quarterly. These meetings, I could tell you the one, if I sat down and worked it out, I could tell you the one that's happening 3 years from now, because it's always the same Tuesday of the month. And it quarterly
Right.
always happens on a certain month.
all right.
So these are well known in advance. But my question, just a general question, or you're welcome to try to answer it. Of these 10 people, how many are going to show up this month and give a quarterly report?
We'll see.
We'll see. I will say that as we have noticed by covering this for the past year and a half, 2 years,
Starting to taper off. And
there are quarterly reports where we'll have 3, maybe 4 show up. Most of these individuals some of these are elected, some are appointed, most are fairly highly paid with taxpayer dollars. And they know this quarterly report is on the calendar. As I said, I could tell you the one 3 years from now for each department when it's going to be. And for whatever reason, they don't show up.
goes
So-
back to my original question.
right.
We just don't have anything going on.
Going on, or we don't want
With
to talk
nothing
about
to
it.
report?
I don't know. And I, giving some grace. I mean, there are times that you'll be sick and there's legitimate reasons to miss something that's on the schedule.
And I'll tell
if
you
you're
something,
at home
Josh.
puking or sick,
Yeah,
or-
9 out of 10 people that
Yeah.
listen to it fall asleep in the middle
well,
of
that's
it.
true. I know, and I understand that.
And,
but,
and I bet
Yeah.
a lot of these folks, they get the reports together and they get frustrated because nobody has any questions.
nobody,
I
I know. It feels
it's
like
just
nobody cares. But I'm just saying, if we're going to schedule them and have the
Let's
quarterly
have 'em.
reports, let's actually have the quarterly
Yeah.
reports.
And we
I
can,
don't know.
it gives us something to talk about too, Josh.
Gives us
We can look
something-
at-
and it helps. I mean, the whole
Right.
point is to help the rest of the people in the county that aren't in those departments know what's going on in county.
passing
government.
information along.
The people that care. And we realize that there's a lot of people that are just apathetic and don't really
care.
give a
Yeah,
care.
yeah.
But some people do. So have the information. Put it
There's
out
a
there.
mixed bag right there.
There's a mixed bag. Thursday, 2 things I'm going to Thursday. Actually, in the morning, 8 o'clock, Business Networking for the Now is having their monthly meeting at the Fly. I went last month. It's a good event. It's put on by Mr. Andres that runs our Spanish language news here
Right.
in town. He puts on a nice event. A lot of different business people come to that. And there's an announcement that's going to be made at that. And also an unannounced event happening the day before that we'll be covering later this week. There's a company in town that's going to get a special award. And we'll be at both events, Wednesday and Thursday. And we'll be talking about that next Saturday. We probably will have a post midweek just kind of explaining what went on there.
Okay.
And then Thursday night at 6 o'clock, monthly city council meeting, we'll decide off this big list of wants and needs,
Yeah.
how many of those dollar amounts get approved by the city council. And so that one, I think that one could be interesting. Some of those, there's not a lot exciting on the agenda, but I think in this case, there's some things that could be debatable at
Some
least.
discussion.
So, hopefully discussion. Hopefully it's not just a lot of yes, none of those. Hopefully they
Right.
actually talk about some of it. So, other than that, just a reminder, Mr. Lane Leverett, 1976 Fairfield Pike. They are collecting right now. You can go on our Facebook page. It's got
Up
a list.
until Monday night.
Up until Monday evening-ish. I'll try to get some more solid times because I'm going to say he probably wouldn't like you showing up at 2 in the morning on his
Probably
farm.
not.
So
Yeah.
when I get out there this afternoon, I'll try to see if there's like a cutoff time in the evening and a time in the morning he prefer you not show up before. So he may not want you coming in at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
either. So
Yeah.
he might be okay with it. But we'll put that information on our Facebook. We'll continue covering any other, groups that are gathering. And there's a lot of them gathering stuff, to head
Oh,
out
yeah.
to East Tennessee. We'll try to keep as much of that information out there as we can. And then we'll be right back here next week, same time, same channel, same place,
Right.
and talking about the news that matters here in Shelbyville and Bedford County.
Yeah, and again, we want to thank Dennis Young Insurance for sponsoring